Hello, literary gladiators. So, this time I'm going to be talking about heroes, leaders, and legends, the power of the human spirit. Pat Sampson was kind enough to dedicate this book to heroes everywhere. And I'm just going to read the little excerpt here from her. For over a century, Lady Liberty has majestically stood, shining her light of love upon the sons and daughters of liberty, symbol of enlightened consciousness shared by freedom lovers everywhere. I love freedom. Next to my children, it's the most valuable thing. I've always said that. So when we fight for our freedom, freedom is never given, it's won. So, land of the free, home of the brave. How blessed we truly are to be alive and to living in a land that needs to remain free. If we ever forget who we are, if we ever forget how many good people there are in the world, witness the awesomeness and heroism of the first responders, the doctors, the nurses, the EMTs, the CNAs, the U.S. Capitol Police, the firefighters and police officers, members of the armed forces, and the millions of essential workers. Sending love to Jose Andres, founder of the World Kitchen, who served nearly 100,000 meals a day to healthcare workers and others in hotspots. Academy Award winner Sean Penn, who set up CORE, one of the country's most impressive coronavirus testing programs. Darnella Frazier, the teenager who filmed the George Floyd tragedy that spread worldwide. And to every hero, named and unnamed, your courage and contribution to make the world a better place is an inspiration in and of itself. You push through with light and positivity, risking your life to protect us and our loved ones every day. We love you. We honor you. We will always remember you. The world owes you a debt of gratitude we can never repay. Thank you for everything. So what a kind and heroic thing to do for Pat to bring people together. This was right at the start of the time of the pandemic. I'm in here along with other great ones, including Oprah. Everybody knows how much I love Oprah. I admire her. She's a true philanthropist. She's a true hero. She is a true leader. I love Oprah. I do, everybody knows, want to be the first female president. I was already the first lady, meaning I was the first woman. And I just saw in a magazine I'm actually accounted for now. But I would be okay if Oprah was the first president before me. Only if Oprah was. No one else. Otherwise, that role is reserved for me. And right. And we're still looking for viable first man candidates so far. Well, everybody knows my vote, but Oprah, there she is. At least we are in the same book together. That's all I have to say. A true star. This is a network of stars. And Pat Sampson, I thank you because everybody knows how much I love Oprah. Okay, so this just recently came out. So of course I'm plugging that here on Literary Gladiators, and you'll have to find my own little piece in here, which is very important, and I want to draw your attention to it. So definitely order a copy, Heroes, Leaders, and Legends. And if you can get it at bookshop.org, that would be great. I haven't even checked. How terrible is that if it's on there? But otherwise, go online, order a copy, order lots of copies, actually. And if you need more information, you can contact me, dr.kimberlyrehack@yahoo.com for more information about this wonderful, wonderful book and about the information that I have in here, which of course, my contact information has to be updated once again. These phones, I can't keep up with them anymore. So the last time I focused mostly on my higher education work, and I also was talking a little bit more about research, and I was starting to talk about the importance of peer-reviewed research still to support the use of evidence-based practices, whether in schools, in healthcare settings, and ultimately trying to bridge that gap through my work in my own nonprofit, which I also want to plug at Dr. Kim Live. It's the dissemination of more accurate information, resources, events, and entertainment opportunities designed to enhance parenthood and childhood experiences at home and at work. And the idea is you can be a parent and you can be a professional at home and at work. Imagine that. So my little piece in here talks a little bit about that some more. You'll have to get a copy of the book. And again, see me with Oprah, at least in 2D, the way I define 2D. I love a book that you can hold in your hands like that. Oh, It's just so wonderful. And then try to reach me by phone, 445-200-7423, to have some more in-person contact, the way I define 3D, where you can see the person and engage, because you know I'm an engager and I love that 3D interaction. My visual health and my vocal voice disorders aside, my preferences, I do love 3D. It's just you can't be everywhere at the same time. So I'm still grateful for online in the areas that I can do online. And of course, for publishing, which I'm not going to release my pen name yet. I always spell pen name with an extra little N there. Everybody knows why I love the little N. Single subject designs. I love the within subject designs. I love the stories behind the numbers. I love survey research. SurveyMonkey. I never even knew who the CEO president of SurveyMonkey was until the more recent past. But I spent a lot of time in the land of SurveyMonkey before he got there with my first doctoral program in education. And I am not against survey research. It's the qualitative side of things. It's the story behind the numbers. So I actually love mixed methods research. I like the qual and the quan. Two sides, same coin. Why do I like single subject research, which everybody with your large N's, that means a large sample size, indicative of the general population, just as much criticism as survey research has gotten, because it's about perspectives and it's not, real information. It's just based on how somebody feels about something, which can ebb and flow and change. Emotions are transient. That we get the same criticism with a single subject design. And I have just shredded those large N's. Not that I don't see the need for those too. They're indicative, again, of the general population. Hardly generalizable. You could say the same thing about punishment and its effects, the same about a little n. But aren't we all individuals? So shouldn't we be looking at the individual effects on each of us? Just because something works for you, for better or worse, that doesn't mean that it's going to have the same effects on me, what I like in terms of my preferences, or in terms of something that I need, whether it be a medication, whether it be, and how do you define medication? A psychotropic medication, a chemical substance. I always joked, under the influence of something. You could be under the influence of a person. You could be under the influence of environmental contingencies outside of a human being, any kind of an influence in your life. You could be under the influence of a mind-altering substance. You could be under the influence of content that you're learning about in school. You could be under the influence of an overbearing partner. You could be under the influence of the laws that govern the state in which you live. Maybe all of the above. So I've done a lot of research in these areas, and I'm not going to go into all of the details about that research right now. But I'm going to just key points, little n's, meaning one little n, one little now, one little n, and really studying that little n can teach you so much. And when you take a little n outside of a larger sample size, a large field of n's, and really start to better understand that little n within the context of the larger n sample, and then you could take a sample within that sample, within subject design, you can learn so much, not only about the intervention that you're studying and its effects, and whether or not it's even worth at a pilot study level, taking it further with a larger sample size, but also, just because that worked for the general population, there's always going to be learner variables and differences. So it's always important to treat people as individuals, right? Not just in terms of preferences, but in terms of the effects of anyone or anything. We don't want little robots. We don't want everybody wanting and doing the same thing. No, we like individuals. We like all the colors of the rainbow. And survey research, yes, but your perspectives are still important. Everybody wants to feel heard, but your preferences can change. Your likes can change, right? As you grow and change over time. Maybe you liked a food in the past, you don't like that food anymore. Maybe you liked a certain color when you were younger. Your preferences change. Your tastes change over time. Natural, that's okay. So that goes along with freedom, dignity, and all these essential workers that hopefully are helping to inculcate that into the general population, helping them to learn not only these everyday freedoms that we take for granted, but also teaching parents, educating parents, counseling parents, training parents, and first responders. I myself was never a first responder, but my heart goes out to them. What a hard job they do truly have to be on the front lines like that, and to constantly be in that state of go. They've done research that a lot of teachers are also showing signs of PTSD at times, that a lot of first responders will show, or EMTs, just because they have to be in that state of go all the time. I was a teacher for 2 years, and it was a difficult 2 years of my life. So my heart always goes out to teachers and first responders and EMTs too. I have not been a police officer yet. I have not been a firefighter yet. I have not been a nurse. And so, but I have been a doctor in various forms, and I have been a CNA, a certified nursing assistant. But including the list that's here for essential workers and some others that I would define in the classifications of essential workers, thank you for everything that you do. I'm going to keep publishing. I want to go back to my pen name publishing, creative writing pursuits. Hopefully I'll be able to do that without having to reveal my pen name. I'm missing it so much. I gave some samples of what I'd normally be working on. What were the new titles going to be? In response, cover story, cover to cover. I have really good ones. What were some of the other ones during this time period? I wrote them down. I'll have to come up with some of the other catchy titles that I have. Anyway, and I have more business ideas, of course. So, but I haven't been researching. I miss doing all my research. I miss my research teams, my research and development task forces. I miss my students doing research. And I wanted to just talk a little bit more on the research side, the importance of the city certification, working with institutional review boards. Those are IRB boards, committees. And through a committee, I'm one that's not all about committees when they're not needed, but I do believe in partnering with universities. And once you take these smaller ends, these pilot studies, maybe you have quite a few little ends, and then you decide after a pilot study, you know what, I'm going to study this further with these results are hardly generalizable, like the effects of punishment. And I actually want to look at a larger sample. So you know what? I'm going to partner with a university now, and I'm going to make sure that I'm looking out for the rights of my participants. I hate when they're called subjects. It's the research participants. So I'm going to little light on the subject, I used to say, but we don't call them subjects. We call them research participants. And it's very important that you get the city certification, so you do understand the rights of all the participants involved in research, and you don't harm anyone. They have a right to withdraw at any time without fear of prejudice, retaliation. Some of the things that I suffered after I tried to leave Facebook amicably as a customer and one of my former employers, and two exes and their families. I mean, one through his death and the other one through divorce. And so I've never myself been fired from anything or broken up with. I always have the opposite issue where I can't get them to go away and I can't get out of the situations. So I'm going to be writing about this. And I had another catchy title about this, about it's not my issue. Sometimes I'll just say, like, when I was a psychologist, in part of our tests, we'll say something that's the opposite. It's the absurdity technique. My issues with saying no. Or, maybe I can't determine an urgent versus an unurgent problem. Or, I took more than I contributed. These are some that I've learned and I've used along the way, like the opposite of what is reality, to see your reaction. I'll say it for the reaction. That's a psychologist technique, typically. Sometimes we'll just show a picture and see what you'll say. Sometimes when they were testing me with my own, they'll show a helicopter in 3D and see if I'll tell you the story. Things like that, like using my own techniques on me. Like, I'm not going to know what you're doing. Anyway, keep calm and talk on. What a great slogan. Keep calm and carry on. Okay, so I talked a little bit about research. You should love research. Every day should be research, but don't do research without a city cert, not formal research, and without them signing a clearance. That's for your protection as a researcher and for theirs as a researchee. If you're going to induct somebody into your research pool, Hall of Fame, they do have protections. You do have to they have rights. So what they're doing at Meta and Facebook and Google, oh my gosh, I would never be a part of that. am like the most ethical person. No, not like I am the most ethical person. So I try to tell them, and I'm not their graduate professor or anything, and I'm not their city certification tutor, but I pointed them in all the right directions, and even to Ball State. And I'm not even at Ball State, so it's not because I'm plugging Ball State, but that content would have been really great for them, and they should definitely go back to school for graduate school, and they could have learned about the city certification and ethics for research. So it's very important. And that's all I'm going to talk about this time. Research and ethics, very important in terms of guiding decisions. You need it. And I mean, somebody like me where I just know. The rest of you, unfortunately, are not like that. So I'm all about the proof. Bring me the proof. Bring me the proof, and I'm going to check your proof and make sure it's actually reliable. Just because you hand me something, I don't believe it. I scan it. I can just tell if it's true. Not everybody has that gift. I'm one of, originally there were 6 of us. I don't know where the rest of us are, but this book says it all. Read it and don't weep. Read it and be grateful. This is the day that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it, like the sign in my local community said. So it's a great book, and Oprah's in here. Okay. Thanks, literary gladiators. And don't forget, I love the angels, including Lucifer. Nice talking to you.